Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Yeah. Riding around the city with a stick all black. Try with a dope and we with all that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Paid $1 million and I can't go back. Got a lot of jewelry on me, man, you can't hold that. So ask him better, tell him that I ain't so crack. Know your money long when your people can't afford that. I'm ballin', yeah. My mama told me that I did my calling. I keep that stick, I don't do no brawling. Open out the doors and let them all in here. Yeah, they all in here. Big dog, we come back again, big dog. Heavy petty, got me break my wrist off.
Hey everybody, welcome to the RugbyPass fan zone with me, Geraint Davies. I got my mate John with me. One of us is slightly happier than the other. We're going to spend the next 15-20 minutes breaking down the details of the game. Please do chuck your thoughts in the comment section. We're going to try and answer your questions as we go through, and we'll break out our own little bits of analysis as we go as well. Obviously, massive game, massive result. I'm sure emotions are running high, so please do chuck your thoughts in, and don't forget then to like the channel as well. That really helps help us to push the channel out to more people. So, John, just get your hot reaction. What's your thoughts on the game?
Well, that's 80 minutes of how a referee can dictate a game. We always talk about don't worry about the refs, play your own game. But my God, if you want to see how a referee wants to screw over a team, that's how it is. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if there was a conspiracy saying like the French rugby were out to make sure like the Six Nations felt their presence being missed.
Strong,
yeah,
John,
we definitely strong today because I couldn't believe what I was watching today from the referee.
That's interesting to say. I mean, that is you think about the referee and his influence on the game. It's interesting number of penalties in the game. So there were 15 penalties England conceded. Wales conceded 9 penalties. If you think then about number of penalties conceded in a game, it's actually slightly less than you'd normally expect in an international game. So in terms of total number, referees obviously had an influence the game, and there's some big events we'll pick up on shortly. So I'm sure some of the watchers will add some of their thoughts. But total number of penalties, just to put that into perspective, it was no more than you'd normally expect. In fact, it was probably slightly less than you'd normally expect for each individual team. So Jack Hind in the comments has just suggested the referee was a disgrace. And I think probably the biggest things, and let's get straight into it. Let's not beat about the bush. Let's get straight into those big decisions, John. So we had the potential slightly early decision for the first try, where the referee had given Owen Farrell a time to speak to his team. Dan Biggers clearly speaking to the referee and asking him, let me know when the clock's back on. So what's your thoughts on that one, John?
Straight away, you know what they're trying to do. You know what sort of vibe they were trying to do. When Dan Biggers in his ear saying, when's the clock on? When's the clock on? It's something they must have picked up on in training. Dan Biggers, right, this is where we're going to tout them. They switch off at the when it's a penalty or when there's a water break. Let's see if we can sting them. Obviously, you know the laws. When there's water carriers on the pitch, you can't start the game. You've told Owen Farrell, right, time is off. Let's go speak to your players. I mean, at this point, we've given 4 or 5 penalties in a very condensed period of time. He's then told Owen Farrell, speak to your players. You've got water carriers on the pitch. Then he's saying time back on. You got to allow for the players to come out of that huddle. Obviously, Dan Biggers picked up on it. He sent it cross field, and they scored in the corner from it. But for me personally, we know the laws. When there's water carriers on the pitch, you can't start the day. You can't start the game again. So you definitely had Howler there.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that when water carriers on the pitch. I mean, you could question why were the water carriers on the pitch at that point, potentially breaking the law and being on the pitch at that point in time. They had no reason to be there. It was a penalty offence. The team, Owen Farrell was trying to speak to his team, so potentially having a word with the management about water carriers being on the field there. It's probably not okay. And obviously, then there's a moment in time where the clock is going to come back on, and that. You could argue that the referee could have allowed a bit more time for England to get into position. And then maybe, I think most rugby players talk a lot about their need to be aware and the need to be really kind of on the ball with the things that are going on. You could argue England maybe weren't switched on to it. But Dan Biggar speaking to the referee, let me know when the clock's back on. I thought I was actually really impressed with, but as a Welshman I would be. I was impressed with the fact that he was wanted to know when the clock was back on. Adams right on the edge, ready for the kick. So yeah, you can see that one both ways, and I thought even the way that Adams took that score was pretty cool. So Patezo, Cannon, thank you for your comments. The softest Triple Crown ever. Potentially, when you look back at the record books, you could argue that that won't be recorded. I think it'll probably just say Triple Crown, to be honest with you, Patezo. Please do hit the like button down below, by the way, just to keep the channel growing. And then Wanderer, so your comment, ref should never be given another international game. So strong comments, obviously. So we're talking about two major events here, aren't we? That's essentially what we're talking about. We talk about one of them potentially should have just allowed the opposition. So taking my Welshness away, the referee in reality probably should just have allowed the opposition a little bit of time to just get back into some kind of shape before blowing the whistle. He's probably gone a bit early. In all fairness, he's gone a bit early. You can be impressed with the fact that Biggar's really aware of that. Probably should have just given a little bit of time for the opposition to get into position in reality. The second decision, massive. I am torn on this one massively. So you've got the potential knock-on for Louis Rees-Zammit. What is a knock-on is the question, really. That's what the fourth official was speaking to the referee about. Is that a knock-on? What makes it a knock-on? John, come on, give us your analysis of that.
See, so with that one now, for me, Louis Rees-Zammit hasn't got clear possession of the ball. He's out of control. It's a knock-on. It's gone forward from his hands, and it's bobbled down to his I think his calf or his heel. It's still gone forward again. And Wales have been the lucky beneficiaries of it. Like the fact that even the wording of the question when they went up to TMO, on-field decision try. So in his mind, referee was going to give it as a try anyway. So from there, it was just a cycle of poor judgment. And because the wording of the sort of questions, the TMO's got it in his head. He's looking to give the try. Why can't he not give it? Rather than is it a knock-on? Because it is a knock-on. Anyone can tell you. It's a knock-on. 9 times out of 10 in most games that happens. The referee's blowing up. It's a knock-on. So how that has managed to be given the try is beyond me, to be honest. I think at first half, really, the referee really did us dirty. Really did us dirty.
Yeah, it's a big call, and thank you for Oak, your comment. I'm not sure that I am that woke. Thank you for your comment, nevertheless, on the water carriers. And then lots of other comments. The Squid just commented about Jamie Gits. I'm not sure who the Jamie Gits were, but potentially there not been a yellow card. You could argue that the England team would probably Jamie Gits and not have any yellow cards. So thank you for that, Squidge. Really good comment. And then Hugo. So players and coaches take criticism, fair game. The level of fishing in this first half is actually disgraceful. Hugo, I think you maybe need to think about your comments that you make in your position. Maybe that's not the best way to use your platform, potentially, Hugo. Maybe think about that one. So the stick thing with some of the other ones. So what happened to trap in? Ref shouldn't give away penalty because he's in the way. And that was one of the regular ones, John. So a lot of the penalties were given for players being on both teams, were probably slightly in favour of England there, where there's players on the ground, they made a tackle, they're then being trapped in the area of the contact area and they can't get away. That slows the ball down, but there's a tactical intention of the attacking teams. They want to attack the attacker in, they get a penalty and then move away. And it's a big area of the game, John. Did you have any views on that one?
Yeah, I think from the first half you could tell straight away what the referee was trying to do. It was pretty consistent for both sides. If there was any sort of delaying or quick ball, to be fair to the referee, in terms of the breakdown, he was trying to referee a breakdown that allowed for quick balls and fast and free-flowing game to flow. You want to see guys like Louis Rees-Zammit, Josh Adams, George North, Watson, May, all get involved in the game, and then you need quick ball to bring him into the game. So he was trying to create a spectacle, but for me, by blowing so much, you don't create any momentum. He was something that he's particularly paid focus on pre-match. Right, I'm going to look at the breakdown and trap it and slow down the ball. So for me, yeah, it was something that I'll say he was pretty consistent with in terms of both teams. But by being so hot on that area of the game, teams don't really get to build phases and like really like test defense and test their shapes.
No, yeah, I agree with that one, John. I think maybe the flow of the game is affected slightly by I think actually, Brian Moore maybe doesn't say as many relevant things in commentary, but one of the things he said in commentary that I thought was absolutely bang on was the number of penalties in succession. So, as I said earlier, number of penalties, England conceded 15 penalties, Wales conceded 9. It's not the total number that matters, it's the number of penalties in succession. And for the first Welsh penalty, there were 3 England penalties in a row. So then obviously Dan Biggar had an opportunity to kick for the posts. And then for pretty much every Welsh score, there was at least 2 penalties in succession. And it'd be interesting to kind of reflect back on that. So penalties, it's where they conceded and indeed the kind of the number of them you have in a row. And we've got lots of good comments through, so probably worth picking up some of them. So Leonardo da Vinci, solid name. So Wales don't deserve the slam, but I always enjoy seeing England lose. So interesting comment, that one. So Wales not deserving the slam. I mean, I think a lot of the comment there will be maybe there'll be contest the 2 Welsh tries, and there'll be contest to some of the red cards in the previous games. I mean, from an objective standpoint as I possibly can, I think the team that scores most points should win in any one international match. To give you a really balanced perspective on that one, John. I mean, it's tough, isn't it? I'm going to say that with jest, of course. In any one game, there's so many variables. It's a tough whole environment for those players, and they're going out there to win, aren't they? They're doing their best. I think as fans, we've got to remember that. I mean, there's 2 teams going at it, hammer and tongs. I mean, we've got to bear that in mind with some of our comments we make post match and during match as well, which Stephen Ferris might well reflect on.
Yeah, I think for me, I said last week in the midweek show that Wales they were building something slowly. They were coming along real slow. Like they didn't come in as hot favourites, but they've had the luck of the bounce. The cards, the decisions have gone their way so far, and let's give them their accolades. You've got to be fair. They've built really well, all things considered. They've built slowly and really got involved and really created something for them to like shine, basically. So I'll be looking forward to see where that Welsh side goes, and if they do win the Grand Slam. Personally, is it a soft Grand Slam? On paper, I wouldn't say that's a Grand Slam side, but in the history books, there's no asterisks. It just says Grand Slam 2021 Wales if they do it. There's no asterisks where they say there's no fans or the team was bad. It'll just say Grand Slam overall. But I think Wales have been building nicely. I feel like we've talked about the referee quite a bit. So I want to let's highlight some good players. I think Callum Sheedy sets on legs, man. He's so good.
How good?
He's so good. He's the future of that Welsh 10. I think he's wearing the wrong colour shirt. Same with Reece Samit. It's a shame that they've gone across the border because
the away kit is nice. To be fair, you're right there. The away kit is nice. They're really good. They're really, really good. I think some of his breaks, Callum Sheedy, throughout the game, he's really pushing Dan Biggar in terms of the future of that 10 shirt. I think I'd like to see him start. You could just see when he came on just after half time, he changed the pace of the game. He's exciting. He does take the ball to the line. He's something new. So I think Sheedy right now could be, for me, who I want to start in that 10 shirt. I think on the England side, player-wise, I think it's hard. It's a tough one, but I feel like Ben Youngs was decent. Curry putting a few big shots again. But across that England team, I think that we've got to start asking some questions now. We've had 3 games in the Six Nations. Players haven't really turned up. I think Maro's he's a tough one because I'm a massive fan of his. I'm a really big fan of his. But like for every one thing good he does, it's compounded by penalties. Farrell, I think
we got to give him some time out, man. You know, we got to start having a look. Like, we got a comment just come in. Simmons brother, worth having a look. Absolutely. For me, there's a guy in Exeter, plays back row, wears number 8. I think we know who he is. How he hasn't got a call up now is mental. It's absolutely mental.
It's a massive call, isn't it? Massive call. But I think you raised loads of good points there, John. I think just in terms of the kind of England style, and we got to take some of the emotion out of it at some point or other. We start talking with the referee. I'm going to talk about the kind of style of play. How did England play the game? One major stat I want to pick up, which Simon Gleave on Twitter has picked out, is that in terms of 22 entries, England have made 8 22 entries, which is a decent number actually for an 80-minute match. 8 22 entries. They've only scored 18 points rather from those entries. Wales have made 5 22 entries. They've scored 31 points. So, referee, you could talk about that all you want, but let's talk about strategy. Let's talk about the way that they play in. And John, you pick a really good point about Sam Simmons. I mean, that's who we're talking about. So let's name him. I think he's the single best number 8, not just in England. I think he's the best number 8 in the British Isles. I think he's outstanding. I rate him in a big way.
Absolutely.
So Simmons, not been in the England squad, never mind not starting for England. Ben Earls, I think he's outstanding, by the way. So him coming on the pitch, when he came on, I was excited. I thought, if England brought on Ben Earls and Sam Simmons as a Welshman, this is panic stations right now.
Absolutely.
So the fact he's not in the squad and not given an opportunity, I think it's bonkers. And then you got other boys in the team, and there's some real good comments in the side. So you got Marcus Smith. I mean, Marcus Smith has been outstanding. You look at Sheedy. You mentioned Sheedy a moment ago. What Sheedy as a player is, you don't come across as a particularly physical character, and yet what has he done? He's taken on the defensive line. He's got his shoulders through the contact. He's driven his legs through the contact, and he's broken a double tackle from a 12 and a loose head prop, and has then given the ball away, which has set Wales up for their next try. So, I mean, these players, they are top draw players, and when they're performing for the best teams in the Premiership, Sheedy nailing it for Bristol, Simmons nailing it for Exeter. These guys are they are the top of European rugby. I mean, they're not just in their own clubs. They are absolutely firing. And Big Eddie, he talks a good game, doesn't he? He's got lots of good things to say, and he's good at chatting to the media. And it'd be really nice to see how does he reflect upon this and some of these outstandingly talented players. And comment from Richard Evans, better than Faletau. Well, as a Welshman,
he probably is.
I do think he is. I think he's the best player in the British Isles. I think he is outstanding. Absolutely. If I could put him and Faletau was, I don't know, 7.5 and 8.5. If I could have the half of them, I put them in the team. I probably would. But I think Sam Simmons is outstanding as a number 8, and it's bonkers that he's not in there.
Absolutely. For me, this is where I think Eddie Jones. This is look. The Six Nations is as good as gone. Let's try something new. There's an interesting stat I read recently is that Eddie Jones believes that your average number of caps determines how well you do in terms of tournaments, Six Nations, and World Cups. So if that's playing the factor of why you weren't bringing guys like Marcus Smith, Sam Simmons, who have got like handful of caps to no caps, because let's try something new, man. It's frustrating to watch an England team that has so many exciting players, so many players who are edge of the seats, yet we don't play a style of rugby that facilitates that. It's so annoying, and I feel like let's get our back three involved more. Let's get them in space. Let's create a platform where we can get guys like Anthony Watson. Look at his finish today. Beat 3 defenders, broke a tackle, we're back in just before half time. Second half, I'm looking at that England team. I'm like, he's going to do something for me.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's when I turn to
one of the comments is about Mullins. So Mullins, they would be more reliant than Daly at 15. Mullins again, I massively rate him. I think he's outstanding. And potentially we could have just bring him on. I mean, like Daly's made. Daly for England over a number of years has been a solid performer, and let's not do these players down. I think as supporting as fans, it's easy to make really personal comments. I think we've got to be really careful. These people are actually human beings. somebody like Daly has been a performer for England for a number of years. Is he the best that England can offer right now? We've got to be quite objectively honest and say that he probably isn't. So we've got people like Mullins who are outstanding fullbacks and that are probably going to do a bit more damage. And maybe there's a need for the coach to allow himself to see that. And just to pick up some of the other comments. There's lots of kind of variety of stuff coming through. So Abs Noir, I believe that's potentially French. The ref has an agenda. Let's nail that one right now. Let's nail that point and kind of blow it out of the water. We got comments at half time. We got comments from professional rugby players and professional sports stars who should simply know better. The referee referees the game to the best of their ability. Sometimes that goes your way and sometimes it does not. To suggest the referee has an agenda, I'm sorry, cut that. So you go on your comments, I'm sorry, just not okay, just not okay. Let's remember the values of this game, what we're all about, trust, respect. That's what we're all about, isn't it? So let's keep that in mind. Let's pick up some of the tactical bits then, John. We've got loads of cool tactical comments through as well about some of the kind of style of play, kind of building the style of play over a period of time. So you got Wales autumn series. Let's be fair, Wales were pretty doggo in the autumn series. They were pretty poor. Parc Scarlets, Wales versus England. England will be the best team by a country mile, and Wales really didn't look at the races. And now they've scored 40 points. I mean, that's massive. So you got to Wayne Pivac was under a lot of stress. A lot of stress from the Welsh media. A lot of people commenting on his kind of place in the as a head coach of Wales, and now we're seeing a real step up defensively. I thought Gethin Jenkins, I mean, as a player, he was outstanding. One of my three Welsh players ever. As a coach, he's transferred it wonderfully. I think he's made a big difference to the style of play. Just pick back onto England. We've got Peter Driscoll's made a comment. So England need to be building a squad for the 2023. We need to shake up. So John's thoughts on that?
I think, I'm definitely with Peter Driscoll on that comment. In terms of, again, like I said earlier on in the live streams before, I think England, in terms of a talent pool, when we talk about building a squad, on paper, like, we shouldn't necessarily need to be building. We should be fine-tuning in between World Cups, because as a talent pool, we got something that envies the All Blacks in terms of raw talent. It's like, again, the tactical decisions we need to be talking about. England pride themselves on their defense, but we've just been smacked 40 points. This is Eddie Jones, who goes to the media and says we base our game on how good our defense is, but we've just lost 40 points. Okay, fair enough. We're down in Cardiff. We're away from home. Lots of different variables to consider. But as a team that has built, since Eddie Jones has come in, has built his game around how good it can defend. It's a poor performance conceding 40 points. So do we need to have a shake-up? Do we need to say, you know what? There's two ways we can go down with this England team. We can say we're going to be a defensively robust team. We're going to grind teams down. You look at Ireland and the Autumn Nations, where defensively it was a masterclass. It was 80 minutes of how to defend a game. Yeah. Or do we go down the route of say we're going to play a France style sort of game? We're going to play the most entertaining sort of rugby. We'll focus on how good our attack is and focus on outscoring the opposition, because ultimately that's how you win games. Who has the most score? Who has got the most points at the end of 80 minutes? That's when you say, you know what? Let's shake it up. Let's get in the likes of Marcus Smith, Joe Simmons, Don Brunt, Sam Simmons. Really, really electric, ballistic players that can just create something from nothing. So I think now we've come to a bit of a crossroads where we decide what style of rugby we're going to go with towards 2023. Because after this Six Nations, what the style of rugby we play now is probably what we're going to be taking to 2023.
Yeah, very true. I mean, a massive period of time, isn't it? I think one of the last things we'll pick up on is the big picture. So Six Nations, who's going to win it? France, for me, I've actually loved watching them. And I've done a couple of videos for my YouTube channel, GDD Coach Analysis, a couple of videos on France and just the style of play that they show. Also, video on Lewis Rizamit, which I did last week. So when I checked that one out over my channel, those guys, for me, they are the kind of players. So you got players like Dupont, you got players like Liam Williams, players like Lewis Rizamit. Those are the kind of guys that are really driving rugby on at the minute. Not just their teams, but they're driving the game on, and they're setting a new standard for what we expect. So in terms of where my money's on at the minute, right at the start of the championship, I never discount Wales, because Wales have had a lot of success since 2005, and they've always been there or thereabouts. France are the team that I just love watching, and they're incredible to watch. One of the things that France have in their arsenal is that their first team is pretty good, but their second and third team are outstanding as well. And
very good, very good.
Nines, I mean, we talk about Dupont 9. I mean, look, you got Serra as their second choice 9. He'd probably get into most international squads, international teams as the first choice 9, and yet he doesn't get near the bench because their first choice is unreal. Jalibert, you got Intermac coming back into fitness. You got Fico in the centre, who's been outstanding, and yeah, he could easily be displaced by some of the other guys who are putting him under pressure. So incredible squad, and I'd be really interested how France now get on. I hope their game against Scotland is rearranged, and we'll see that in future. So yeah, I mean, lots of cool stuff going on. My summary would be that I think France are still the team to beat. I think France are still right there where they were at the start. I think they're still the team to beat. But don't discount the Welsh boys. They're always there or thereabouts too. John, come on, where's your money? Let's finish up.
I'll say, all things considered, if games go ahead, we've got the postponement of the France-Scotland game this weekend. Depending on that, I can't see past that France team in terms of squad depth. In terms of A side, B side, C sides, France have probably got the best depth across all 6 nations. So yeah, if they get to play their games, they continue how they're going. It's, for me, my money's on France. Taking into consideration COVID and the state of the table now, my odds on now probably would be Wales to finish off the job. I think they've got through the majority of their real sticky games now. So for me, it's how they use that momentum. I think beating England now 40 points is a great confidence boost for that squad, and I can't really see any downsides for them. I think the only way is up for that Welsh team.
Yeah, I would agree with that one. I think it's probably worthwhile just picking up some of these last few comments. So has Johnny May been good enough? His kick returns. I'll pick up on Johnny May. Do I think he's fit in this England team in the minute? Not massively. For me, Ollie Thorley, I'd get him in straight away. I'm massively biased on that one. However, I would get Ollie Thorley in. I would have no doubt about that one. I think he's outstanding. James Scudamore said about France to win the championship. But due to Scuddy, I think I'm probably on board with you there in terms of who's got the biggest potential. But always back the Welsh boys, obviously. I think some other cool comments coming through. So Wales v France. Always a fantastic game. Let's hope for a non-90-minute game on this occasion. However, we had all 100-minute games. We've had enough for them. Let's stick to 80-minute games. So lots of cool stuff coming through. Guys, thank you for engaging. Thank you for all your comments. We'll chuck some comments in after as well. So it's cool stuff. The questions are coming through. We'll respond to them as we go through. Do also remember that RugbyPass have pretty much saved us from not watching Super Rugby. So Super Rugby, Aotearoa. Make sure you sign up for RugbyPass. You can see all the games on there. It's a fantastic opportunity to see the games each weekend throughout the tournament. So do make sure you sign up for that. And there's plenty of information down in the notes section. John is a top lad. Wonderful social media stuff. So do check down in the notes section. All of his social comments are down there. Check up in the screen. Check him out on Twitter. Check him out on Instagram. Loads of cool stuff. You definitely want to check that out. And then if you fancy checking out some rugby analysis, do check out my YouTube channel, GDD Coaching Analysis. There's decent amounts in there across the games and all neutral, not just supporting Wales, I promise. All neutral across the game. And then check it on Twitter as well, @Davies GDD. So guys, thank you for engaging. John, thank you for your chatter. It's been great chatting to you. Let's hope for positive games going forward.
Definitely.